great. I was proud to be standing there next to him. Maria's team, Tennessee Serves, has been focused on this month, has been focused on veterans, and they have teamed up with that foundation and their work to make sure that Tennessee veterans understood how much we appreciate it.
State Revenue Board today came out with numbers, pretty flat revenue. We've been hearing of in all the budget requests, transportation in particular, huge backlog of projects, decreasing revenues there. What are your concerns going forward into budget season? Kind of flat revenues, state's giving out a lot of money on this corporate franchise tax refunds. What do you think gets cut, and what are your priorities?
Well, I think the top line of revenues is that our revenues have flattened, but at a significantly higher level than they were before the pandemic. So our revenues were destined to flatten at some point. The rate at which they were rising was unsustainable, and we have significant revenue. So that's the good news. We just have to do what we do every year, which is decide how best to distribute those revenues. So I think the decisions are not what will be cut as what will be funded and what will decide not to be funded, or how much we fund one program versus another. I think we go through this every year and we look at what our revenues are and budget accordingly. The other thing that we're committed to is balanced budget, right? Never spend more than you have. And that will be something that we do again this year.
Tennessee obviously has a really robust rainy day fund, but you look at sort of this transportation backlog, the once-in-a-generation floods we had. What constitutes a rainy day fund for you and for the Republican Party, if not these things?
I think the rainy day fund should be reserved for when we have a financial crisis in our state. In the same way that you have a savings account in your home for when something goes really wrong. That is what a rainy day fund is for, a financial crisis. Our state has strong revenues, one of the fastest growing economies in the country. We have money to invest in the things that Tennesseans need. We will continue to invest in roads, bridges, highways. We will continue to invest in the needs in Upper East Tennessee. We have the revenues to do that. We don't need to tap into a fund that is reserved for financial catastrophe because we don't have one.
Can I piggyback off that with talking about the budget? Comptroller has found that we need about $10 billion in the next 5 years to help schools update them. Some of these counties might need a lot of help. Do you have a plan for that?
I think we funded our public school systems with record numbers, and we'll continue to do that. Our public school systems are where most of our kids go to school, and we need to make certain that our commitment to those schools and that educational system is strong far into the future. That is the future of Tennessee. So while we've made historic investments in public education, we'll continue to do so even this year. That's how we'll move Tennessee forward. Sam?
There's the bill sponsored by Democrats to protect in vitro fertilization and contraception. And there's been a national movement of sorts to cut those. Where do you come down on that national argument?
I don't know about the argument, but I'll tell you that I believe that IVF is important, that we allow and protect IVF for families. It's a part of what I believe is being pro-life, and the laws in our state do protect IVF. Current laws, I haven't seen the laws that are being proposed, but broadly that's how I feel about the subject.
Governor, there's been a sort of prolonged court fight over the voting rights restoration issue here. Now the state is saying that it's tied to whether or not you can get your gun rights back, and this has been kind of a fight where some folks were in court, got a judge's order, the state withheld whether or not they could vote, made the vote provisionally, and then decided on the back end you could vote. your vote will count this time, but we don't know how it's going to go in the future. It does seem like there's legislative push for this through Bud Halsey at this point. I know that you're kind of interested in the topic at the least. Would you be willing to look into that and throw some political weight behind the issue?
Well, I haven't seen anybody's proposed proposals for that. I will say at the end of the day, the Secretary of State determines who votes and who legally has the right to vote. I will say for me, we should make certain that anyone who has the legal right to vote in this state, that we make it possible and easy for them to do that. As far as changes to what constitutes a legal voter, I'll be interested to see what the General Assembly has to say about that. I don't know what the proposals are, but I'll look at them when they come.
But do you think someone should have to get their gun rights back in order to be able to cast a ballot?
Well, I think it's important that we have a definition of a legal voting citizen. Whatever those laws are in our state, that has to be followed. If the General Assembly's interested in changing them, then they'll bring forth proposals and we'll look at it. You got one more? Anybody else got one? Yeah. I'm sorry.
I kind of touched on it with you a couple of weeks ago with TDA, the Tren de Aragua gang. But now we are seeing arrests being made. So TBI announced today that they did make an arrest in link to TDA and a human trafficking operation. Is this a concern to you at all that we're kind of seeing this spread throughout our major cities according to TBI?
Well, what I think first and foremost about this is that the TBI has done good work. I'm grateful that there have arrests been made and that they actually knew about this and then went after it and then have made arrests. That's what they're supposed to do. That's why we have supported them. I will say, too, there's been a lot of conversation about why these people were here in the first place. And I think we saw in the election for President Trump that there is a desire in this country to stop illegal Venezuelan gang members, for example, from coming across the border and make their way to places like Tennessee. I think that will change soon, and that's a good thing. I think that the other good thing is that our TBI has determined and discovered and has enough intelligence to know where these folks are operating and are beginning to make arrests. We hope that they can finish that job.
Any update on the budget request that they were asked?
We'll be processing budget requests really over the next 6 weeks before the budget is due, but we'll look hard at TBI's requests.
Channel 2.
All right.
Governor,
Thanks, y'all.
more.
I'll give you one more,
All right.
Jonathan, since it's Thanksgiving.
Oh, that's easy. The lethal injection protocol. I know that your administration has said in recent weeks that it's coming soon. Can you tell us anything about when that'll?
Yeah, I don't have a date, but I think within the next few months, I would expect it to be finalized. I've asked them to, move forward and give us a date. We haven't received that date yet, but I think I've said before it would be in the next few months. I think it'll be early in this next year.
Do you know what it'll look like in any?
I don't.
shape?
I don't have any insight into the protocol, and probably won't until they actually finalize it and issue it. Thank you.
Governor, right, Fox 17 has one more question.
One of my coworkers who messaged me.
Come on.
Didn't want to leave him hanging. So Senator Hagerty seems to be on the short list for a position in President-elect Trump's cabinet. Have you discussed this with him, and do you know who you would appoint to fill this position?
Well, I certainly hope he gets an appointment. He's a great leader, and he's been a great leader for our state, and he and I are friends, and I've just encouraged him that anything I can do to be supportive of him through this process, I'm happy to support him. And as far as an appointment, that would be come after a selection, and we haven't thought down that path yet.
We'll have a short list.
No short list.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you. Thank
Happy
you.
Thanksgiving.
Thanks, y'all. Have a good week.
Thanks for bringing this.
Yeah, of course.